So I wanted to do a regular series of videos in addition to some of the silly videos that I've put up on YouTube already, and the focus of the series of videos is actually going to be how to be a better GM. This was actually spurned by a few friends of mine, and some of which are players, members of my regular groups that I get together with and everything. Some of them have actually only recently started running, and they ask me, as one of the more experienced GMs that they know, they ask me what they can do to be better, how their games can be better, how they themselves can run the games better, and everything like that. And I help them as best I can, giving them advice here and there, whether it's to do with how to deal with particular characters, particular type of characters, the game mechanics, the game rules, the settings, things like that. And so I decided to go ahead and just do an entire series of videos, episodes about how to be a better GM. And there's a lot of different facets, areas of improvement, pieces of advice that I could give to anybody. But in doing these videos, what I'm going to try to do is stick to a single topic or a single technique, something that's helped me or helped others become a better GM. And so what I want to talk about today, this being the first of the series of videos that I'm going to be doing on this subject, what I want to talk about today is a few things that you never stop doing in order to not only be a GM, but perhaps even to be a better GM. And so the first thing that you never stop doing, that you can never stop doing as a GM, is it's actually fairly simple, almost obvious, really, is that you never stop improving. You want to have that mindset from the get-go, is basically make a conscious effort to never stop improving. And there are a lot of different ways that a lot of people, new GMs, even older GMs, experienced GMs, can do in order to make sure that they never stop, which in a lot of ways probably kind of speaks for itself. The second thing that you never want to stop doing as a GM is you never want to stop learning. There is, for any game that you're running, for any type of setting you're running, there's all kinds of things, all kinds of information and material out there for you to pick up, read, and try to absorb. Whether it's a particular game and the game rules, when new rules come out, or you can always go looking for errata that they may have posted or posted online, printed in other books that have come out for the same game, things like that. You want to try to make sure that you're up to date on all of that, and constantly continue to learn everything you can about a particular rule set or a particular game system or game setting. On top of that, one thing that you never want to stop learning is, of course, learning how to GM, and you can do this in a lot of different ways. Sometimes simply by watching. When you sit down in a game that you're playing or participating in some way other than running, what you can do is take notes of what the GM does, the GM running the game, how well the other players respond to it, yourself in particular. And I myself actually have taken a lot of notes from a lot of different GMs over the years that I myself have been playing, gaming, and running. And I find that you can actually learn as much from what you yourself may consider a bad GM as you would from a good GM. Essentially what you do is you pick up on a lot of things that you don't want to do from any GM that you would consider a bad GM, or and just as well, pick up a lot of things that you yourself could incorporate into your own style of gaming, own style of running, and pick up a few things that have worked for other GMs, in games that you've participated in, games that you played in, where the GM was able to keep your attention, keep you interested, and keep the adventure, keep the game, the story moving forward, and everything. Now, I won't give any examples of bad GMs that I've gamed with. Mostly because I don't want to out anybody as or declare anybody as a bad GM here in a fairly public forum. And I certainly badmouth anybody in this way. However, I myself have played with a few people that I myself would consider less than entertaining, if you will. Essentially a bad GM, and I've picked up a lot of. I've picked up a lot of things from the way they run their games and characters and NPCs that have kind of helped. They kind of helped me improve my own games, improve my own style of running, and basically just pick out the things about. I've picked out the things about their style of running that I really didn't like, and said to myself that. When I'm running, I'm not gonna do this either in my game or to my players. Things like that. But one example I could give of a really good GM, guy who I feel even maybe at times puts me to shame. As good as I am, according to people who have sung my praises, if you will, is a friend of mine by the name of Dan, who is like myself a member of GASP, the Gaming Association of Southwestern Pennsylvania, which you can learn more about at www.gasp.com. Dan, I've had the opportunity to play in only a few of Dan's games, and they were absolutely phenomenal. And before I sat down to play with him, for the very first time, with him running the game, I made a conscious effort to remember to take notes of things he did in the game, the way he ran things. I actually had a twofold plan for trying to figure out what made this guy such an awesome DM. The first part of my plan would be to, of course, to sit down in the game and take notes on everything that he did that was an effective GMing technique. As well as things that he did that kept the game moving, kept the game entertaining for everybody. And the second part of my plan was more of a backup, really. I decided that if simple note taking wouldn't work, I would have to eat his heart in order to absorb his power. Fortunately, it did not come to that, but still, it was because I was able to take very good notes, and I have since incorporated some of the things that I've picked up from his games and everything. And as far as individual techniques go, I'll probably discuss some of those in future videos. The third thing that you never stop doing as a GM is, and probably one thing that I would consider one of the most important things that you never stop doing. The third thing that you never stop doing as a GM is writing. You never stop writing either ideas for a campaign, ideas for a setting, if you're trying to come up with a new setting, characters, NPCs, plots, storyline, overall sweeping story arc, whatever. Any idea that you get, it's actually a lot like writing, trying to write professionally. Any ideas that you get for a story, for a campaign and everything, write it down. There's a fairly good chance that you'll come up with something better, and you may never use anything, any of the stuff that you've written down previously, and that could have to do with whether or not you're able to start up said campaign, or get a group of players together for a particular game that you want to run. But still, when you do finally get a game together, you can go over any old notes, scribblings on pieces of paper, napkins, or placemats that you took from Denny's, things like that. You never want to stop writing. You never stop jotting down your ideas so that you have them. So that you have them to fall back on later on. Me personally, I am constantly writing down ideas that I have for campaigns, ideas that I have for NPCs, not only like the villains that I'm going to put up against my put up against my characters, but also like helpful, beneficial NPCs, allies, and contacts that they're going to make along the way. Important contacts for them to make so that they can get the bits of information that they themselves are going to need in order to continue in the adventure, in order to continue moving the storyline of the campaign along. And the occasional wacky monster. One thing I absolutely love doing as a GM is making up new monsters and creatures that aren't in any of the source books. And when I throw them at my players, it absolutely throws them for a loop. Because for one, a lot of my players usually have more ready access to the books than I do, especially when it comes to things like 3rd edition, 4th edition, and 3.5 Pathfinder, D&D, as it were. It's mostly because I don't own a lot of those books, and while I do enjoy writing up stories and campaigns and the story arcs and everything like that, I don't always have ready access to a lot of the source material that a lot of my players do. And again, especially for 3rd edition, 4th edition, 3.5, and Pathfinder, Dungeons & Dragons. And so anyway, like I said, I'm always making up new monsters that they could not have possibly read about in the monster manuals or anything or any other source book like that, bestiaries and whatnot from other games. And so when I throw them these wild and crazy creatures and monsters that they've never seen or never heard of before, they're caught completely off guard. They have no idea. They have no idea. They have no idea what they're doing up against it. They have no idea how to counter some of its attacks. They have no idea what its weak point, what its weaknesses are, which I find is actually more important out of character than in character. Anytime you're dealing with players who have read the monster manual per se, cover to cover, and they know everything. They know everything about every monster in there. Well, then what do you do? Then what do you do in order to surprise them? What else can you do? And a lot of times I really don't blame players for this, because again, we're only human. Like I actually said in one of my other videos, it is sometimes difficult to separate out what we know out of character from what our characters know in character, and it's all because of the way information and knowledge is stored in our brain. Sometimes we're not able to filter that out, and so every now and then I find it necessary to throw them up against monsters and all kinds of crazy traps that they weren't expecting and have no idea how to deal with out of character at the very least. And then once they've dealt with it, maybe kind of figure it out, it's something that I'll throw up against them again, and so they can actually rely on real experience, real experience both in and out of character of how to deal with these wacky new monsters that were not published by the actual authors of the books that we're dealing with, that we're working with, playing out of. Number 4 on the list, and again, very, very important thing that you never stop doing as a GM is you never stop trying. This, again, very important, probably as important, if not more so, than the fact that you never stop writing. If you only DM, GM, referee, zombie master, whatever, if you only run a game once or twice, or only try your hand at running a game once or twice, then obviously there's no way that you can improve as a GM. Only in recent years, I want to say within the last 2 years, a very, very good friend of mine. He's been a long time friend, confidant, gamer, player, brother, member of the practically a member of the family. Who of course goes by Azareth Stryffe. Like I said, member of the family. Only in recent years has he started running, and I'm constantly encouraging him to not only try running different games, which he has recently gotten into, thankfully, running something other than D&D. Constantly trying to tell him that one of the best ways that he can improve as a GM is to keep running. If if you think that you suck as a GM, if other people think that you suck as a GM, then the only way to get past that is to keep doing it. I can't think of a single person who was well known for anything that was able to do it right off the bat. Professional athletes, musicians, writers, authors, game designers, both written and electronic, if you will. I can't think of a single person who didn't get to where they are without hours and hours of long hours of practice. And oftentimes, nothing that comes easy is worth doing anyway. The fact that you never stop trying to GM, the fact that you never stop, the fact that you never stop trying to become a better GM, which again ties into the first point I made. That you never stop improving. You can't be constantly improving if you aren't constantly trying. So again. The fifth thing, the last thing that you never stop doing as a GM, hopefully, is you never stop having fun. Me personally, I think oftentimes I would say probably 98 times out of 100, 98% of the time, I have more fun. I personally have more fun running than running a game than I do playing in a particular game. And again, that's just me. I do have a few games that I'm in where some of my regulars they're actually where other people are running. Where other people are running instead of me running most of the time, and while I am having a lot of fun there, I do think that I have more fun. I do think that I have more fun running, but the point is you want to make sure that you have as much fun running as you do playing, and if not, then at the very least you need to find a way. At the very least, you want to try to find a way in order to make running fun for you. And if you're absolutely unable to do that, then perhaps running may not, running the game, being one of the people to run the game for your group and for your friends may not exactly be for you. And again, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that. I've known quite a few gamers over the years who have never once run a game. They are 100% player, could not run a game. Well, actually, no, I shouldn't say that. They probably could run if they tried. But the fact that they would rather play than run. Well, we've all run into players like that before, and again, that doesn't make them bad people. It certainly doesn't make them bad players or even bad participants to have in a game or in a gaming group. It's just running doesn't do it for them. The amount of work that goes into it, the being able to keep track of 100,000 plus NPCs and who has what information, who has what gear, who has what items, things like that. It's not exactly it is not for everybody, and it's not exactly fun for everybody. So even when you are running, you absolutely have to make sure that you are having fun with it. Because as it goes, at its core, getting together for an RPG is a game. It's a game that we all play. We all play from different angles and oftentimes different sides. The player's side, the GM side of the game. Being the GM oftentimes carries with it a great deal of responsibility, all of which comes along with a great deal of work that has to be done. A great deal of work that goes into it. But if doing the work, doing the writing, constantly learning, constantly improving, and everything that goes into being a GM. Oftentimes, not only simply running the games and knowing the rules and things like that, but also knowing the setting, or perhaps even coming up with your own setting. If none of that If none of that is very much fun for you, then there's no point. Then there certainly is no point in torturing yourself. However, if any of those aspects of the game, if any of those aspects of the game, if any of those aspects of GMing you enjoy and will continue to enjoy for months or even years to come, then in the end it may all work out for you. So again, that's it. Those are the things that you never stop as a GM. Those are the things you never stop doing. Never stop learning. You never stop improving. Never stop writing. Never stop trying, and never stop having fun. So there it is. Those are my thoughts on the subject. Feel free to email me, message me, text me through all the usual methods if you agree, if you like the video, or if you disagree, if you have a difference of opinion. Like I said, this is just the first of a series of videos that I'm going to be doing about how to be a better GM, and I hope you all enjoy this one as well as enjoy the ones that are coming in the future. Thanks again. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'm Gabriel Stryffe, coming at you from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Equitas Veritas Bellatus.